Howdy peeps, it's been a while since I've done a video, and the last ones that I did was probably talking about the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp case. This video, although I have done quite a few in the meanwhile, I haven't really felt the need to upload them. Some personal stuff going on. But this video is a little bit different. This video I'm kind of doing a response to Pure Mail's most recent upload on pardon me, on Odd Stuff. And in this case, Pure Mail's talking about an ex of his, and basically how the sort of dynamics of the relationship panned out. And I might be comparing it to a situation that I was in, and it might be like apples and oranges, if you know what I mean. Like, it might not quite be the same sort of thing. But since this is also a conversation that came up just yesterday between a friend and myself, I think it is worth talking about. So Pure Mail was saying about this one particular ex that he had, and how she got involved in all of his part of his life. You know, from friends to clients for his business and all of this. Now, from what I've seen, maybe you don't want to regard this as like some sort of personality disorder thing, right? I think it is, personally. And also, that being said, this stuff is running so fucking rampant now. I actually heard another content creator saying the other day that they'd actually taken narcissistic personality disorder out of the DSM because it was such a common thing now, in particular amongst women. But I digress. So Nick was saying about how this, Nick being Pure Mail, by the way, Nick was saying about how this ex of his was getting into all of the aspects of his life, and when it came to that working the other way round, it wasn't quite the same. Like, I think he met maybe one of her friends, I think he was saying, plus her sister, and then and again it was all sort of like family events, you know, Christmas, New Year, that sort of thing. And it's like I said, because I'm trying to sort of suss out the dynamics of this in this one particular relationship that I was involved in whereas I actually got on really well with the family, with this particular, the ex that I'm talking about. I got on with her family really well. We had lots in common, we could have a good laugh together, and all of that. So in that kind of aspect, I think that's, when it comes to the breakup, I think that's what hurts the most, is like, you know, you spend, like, in that particular case, 3.5 years, you get to know their family, they become part of your life, you become part of theirs, and, you know, you kind of have a long-term goal of maybe where that relationship is going. But when sort of push comes to shove, in terms of the involvement of that ex in my life, she didn't want a great deal to do with it. You know, it was all about her and her life and what she was doing, and obviously single mum, so she had a kid, and the kid liked horses and had horses and all of this. So again, horses, look, I get it, like, they take up a great amount of time. It's not something you just leave in a field and they look after themselves. You know, you got to muck them out, you got to sort the hay out, you got to walk them, wash them, clean them, ride them, all this sort of a thing. But that didn't really bother me a great deal. But like I say, when it came to her becoming part of my life, and I used to say, well, you know, we can go out on the bikes every now and then, you know, like, she can just ride pillion. We'll go down to the local bike meet, have a burger, have a coffee, tea, chocolate, whatever. You know, it's not like I was saying I want you to be there every weekend. It's just like every now and then, because most weekends, you know, she was dealing with the horses and that. So she didn't really want a great deal of involvement in my life in that aspect. In the same as when we got invited out to parties and stuff like that, she would also turn them down with the excuse of couldn't get a babysitter, despite the fact that her parents had said quite often, like, you know, if you guys want to go out, just let us know, and we'll look after the kids, sort of thing. But that never really happened in 3.5 years. You know, nights out and stuff. I mean, I was past nights out at that point anyway, so I'm not going to go out clubbing. Didn't really have much interest in it. I've done enough clubbing in my time, and yeah, it was kind of one of them. But we did get invited to one of the couples that I used to know, associate. Well, they're not even associates anymore. We all fell out, and there's several reasons for this, but whatever. But other than that, she didn't have a great deal of interest in my life, my friends, and all of that. Which, look, it's kind of it's difficult to even put that down as being some sort of a red flag, if I'm honest. The reason I say that is because, you know, much as you want, you know, the other person to be a part of your life and to be involved with your family, because if you've got a good family and that, then they're exactly that, they're your family. And you're supposed to, air quotes, love the other person enough, and yada yada, you'll get the gist of where that one's going. But that was just that relationship with that particular person. And Nick was sort of saying whether he didn't want to know, didn't know whether it was like to do with NPD or BPD and all of this. But now I want to compare it to someone else that I know, and their behaviours and how they are. And you know, this particular woman, you know, you literally can't tell her anything about your personal life or your private life if you want it to remain private, because she will use that as a gossip. She's a gossip. That's what she's a charlatan. And the amount of times that, you know, people have said to her, oh, you know, the missus is going in hospital, and it's like personal stuff, but, you know, like between two people. And then when they'd have customers go to the business, that woman would start telling other people about other people's business, why they were going to the doctors, why their missus was going to the doctors, and all of this. You know, with no regard whatsoever for a bit of personal privacy for the other person. So imagine that, you know, it's like you've only told one person about you going to the doctors for whatever reason. And, you know, you get one of your clients turn up and they say, oh, how's your missus? And you're like, what? Well, what do you mean, how's my missus? Oh, yeah, well, such and such was saying that, you know, she had to go to hospital to have an operation and yada, and she gossiped the entire fucking story. And it's like, it's none of your business, bitch. It's none of your business telling other people. So there's that side of it, right? Some of them do want to get involved in, or no, I'll rephrase that. It's not that they want to get involved in your life, it's they want to know about your life so that they can talk about it with other people that have got nothing to do with you in your life. You know, it's like, you, since it's your life, you'd want to be able to pick and choose who you do actually tell and don't tell about what's going on in it, right? But not with someone like that. You can't tell them anything because it won't remain a secret, is it? And not that it's necessarily a secret, it's just a bit of common courtesy and privacy for someone else, you know. So that's sort of an example. Now, digressing back to what Nick was saying, Nick Pure Male, that is, about about his ex not really getting too involved with him not getting involved with her part of the life, her friends and all of that. And it's like, well, chances are she didn't have that many friends in the first place. You've got to remember that unless their friends, which is going to be usually the case, are along the same lines of the type of person that they are, you know, in terms of toxicity and chatterbox charlatans, you know. Well, for the most part, people don't want nothing to do with them because they know they can't tell them anything without them telling everyone else, you know, which is, again, it's a bit of privacy, a bit of courtesy towards someone else's personal life, but they don't have that. And as Nick was saying, it's like they are quite invasive with it. You know, they want to know all the ins and outs of what you're doing in your life and this and that. And one of the things, going back to that relationship that I've been speaking about in this video, one of the things that, you know, really sort of concerned me when I was breaking up with that particular ex was that thing of, well, you know, I'd heard the stories, all of her exes were bad to her, like they mistreated her in one way or another, and that she was just always down on her luck with regard to the type of boyfriend she chose. It's like, no, she wasn't. She wasn't. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of guys out there, myself included, that wanted what was best for her, and because of her own self-destructive patterns, she would throw it back in their face with an extra slab of crap thrown in there just for good measure. You know, this is what these people tend to do. They'll just shit on any friendship without giving it a second thought. It's just like a self-destruct thing, I suppose. You know, they burn all their bridges and stuff. Now, sort of to compare that to, like, because I don't know a great deal of what Nick actually went through, whether he did have a loss of customers as a result of the breakup and, you know, people chatting shit behind his back. But that was one of the things that I was really concerned about, because of what I'd seen like that with that particular ex. It's like she badmouthed most of her exes, you know, and she remained friends with one because he could provide a service for her with regards to repairing her vehicle if it broke down. So again, not really appreciating someone for who they are, but more what they can do for her. Yeah, and that's kind of a thing, you know. She's a user. That's what that sort of personality is. And things got really weird, you know, like maybe it was just the sort of group of people that I was hanging about with, and again, they weren't necessarily friends. I kind of considered them friends, which was my mistake. I'm talking about like workmates and colleagues where, you know, you're trying to put a level of trust in them, and you know they're asking you to tell them stuff and if you're okay, because, you know, you're going through a breakup and all of this, and they're making out on the surface that they've actually got your best interest at heart, when in reality they haven't. You know, a lot of the time they're running back to the other person and telling them, you know, what you're going through, and of course with that they can use that again, you know, to just to do more collateral damage to the individual. Which, yeah, look, it is totally wrong. I don't agree with it, but that's what these fuckers do. You know, they don't care about anything to do with you. You know, they're just interested in trying to destroy you. So, with that, I ended up not talking to a lot of my friends, and, you know, when I deal with things like a situation like that, I go full on introvert. I don't tell anyone where I'm going. I don't tell anyone what I'm doing, and this will last for anywhere between 6 and 8 months, or up to a year sometimes. And this is because I didn't know who that ex had spoken to, what she'd said about me. If anything, again, it's just assumption, right? And you could say, oh yeah, you're being paranoid, and it's like, yeah, you might have a point. But also, when you see them do it, you know that you're not being paranoid, because you know that it's something that they do, and it is probably something that they will do to you because they don't respect you, they don't care about you. And as far as they're concerned, like I said, the more collateral damage they can do to you, the better. For them, not for you, of course. So I spent about maybe 6 or 8 months where none of my friends knew where I were or where I was. They didn't know where I was living. They didn't know who I was hanging out with. They didn't know where I was working, what I was doing, or anything. And again, in this time, I was also trying to figure out if my well of friends, as it were, had been poisoned, if you know what I mean. Like, we speak in the manosphere about the amount of women that, do exactly that. They chat shit about their partners to the groups of friends that they got involved with. I'm talking in particular about the guys' friends. And, just basically tarnish their name and make them out to be the bad guy and everything's their fault, right? Meanwhile, putting themselves in the sort of the white light of they're this saintly figure that never did anything wrong. And unfortunately, if your friends are blind enough to not see through the bullshit, and they don't, and this is the worst part, it's like when they've known you for long enough, when you've known someone for like 10 or 14 years and you've lived with them and you know what they're like, and you know that the things that you're being told are probably not going to be true, but you roll with it anyway. And it's like, in one aspect, it's like, well, you're better off without them people in your life anyway, because it's a matter of time before they shit on you anyway, so what's the point? I mean, sure, they might be good for a bit of passive conversation every now and then, but at that point, they're not really someone you could trust with any intimate sort of personal secrets or something like that, because you just can't. But I'd say that these are mostly traits of, like, for those that do go around poisoning the friendship wells and all of that. Again, it comes down to they do it for one reason and one reason only. It's pretty much to isolate and destroy you and steal all your friends and then make you out to be the bad guy, so you get to rebuild your life again with a tarnished name, so you can't really go back to the friends that you used to have. And this is something that I'm still in direct contact with a few of my friends from back then, and to me it always feels awkward. Like I just think that there's something going on in the background, like that maybe they have been told something, I don't know. And I've often said time and time again, if someone's been chatting shit about me behind my back, rather than listen to the person chatting shit, why don't you come and ask me? More importantly, and this goes for anyone, this is exactly how you should handle the situation. It's like, if they're not capable of having that conversation and approaching you because someone said that you did this, that and the other, or you're this, that and the other, right? If they can't approach you and actually have a conversation with you and ask you if what they've been told is actually true and correct, if they can't do that, you don't need them in your life. Because it shows that they're not capable of being open and honest with you like you'd expect from a friend. They're not your friend. I'm just saying, they're not. But I would argue, like what with Nick was saying, well, I wouldn't argue, but I'd kind of, this would be my take on it, would be that they get involved in all the aspects of your life. So when the breakup comes, they can then tell everyone that how it was your fault and you're a bad person, and from doing that they get the validation from the feels, because they're making someone else out to be bad. So there's a double combo going on there. They know what they're doing is wrong, they know they're lying, and at the same time that they know that the person that they're telling is going to give them some form of pity. You don't need that sort of person in your life, right? Either of them. I'm just saying, if they're not willing to approach you and ask the questions, you don't need them in your life, because they're a fucking messer. They're an absolute waste of time. And it's, and again, for them not to even be willing to have that conversation with you, it's just like, wow. I mean, fortunately for me, I think the sort of group of friends that I have got, they do know me well enough. They know exactly what I'm like. And if anyone was to say anything about me to them, I would like to think that the friends that I have now would actually approach me and say something or ask the questions, knowing that they're going to get a legit answer. I'm not about to start lying about something that isn't true, because if I was to get caught out, I'd look like a cunt. You know, who wants that? But this is just it. When in this case, for the sake of the relationship explanation, when women do it, I think it's done in particular with NPD and BPD. I think it's done to do as much collateral damage and to garner as much support for themselves as they can, whilst making the guy look bad. Which, well, fucking enough said, really, innit? It tells you everything you need to know about that sort of person. And it, you know, like I said, for any friends that were your friends initially, that take her side, let them have them friends, because you don't need them. So just one of them. Anyway, I think I'm done for this one. Thank you all for listening. Thoughts, comments and opinions, feel free to jot down as always, and until the next one, stay cool, stay free. Peace out.